Absolute Bedlam. Absolute Bedlam. Absolute Bedlam. Talking about topics and stuff. Absolute Bedlam. Absolute Bedlam. Absolute Bedlam podcast. Who? What? Where? Why? Hello and welcome to Absolute Bedlam podcast. I've managed to secure Billy Sheehan, everyone. This is next level. Thank you so much for your time, Billy. I really do appreciate it.
My pleasure. Or as I say in Japan, my pressure.
That's the one. Fantastic.
It's Sheehan, incidentally, not Sheehan, so it's okay.
Sorry.
Everybody does it, especially down here in Nashville. Billy Sheehan.
That's it. Brilliant. So tonight on the show, we have the incredibly talented and the most humble bass playing virtuoso you will ever meet, in my opinion, because I've watched a lot of your interviews and you are incredibly good at downplaying your talent.
That's because I suck.
Even on night.
See, to me,
yeah,
I got a different point of view. I am concentrating on things I can't do or things I got to improve continually. So, it's hard for me. In life, you climb a mountain, and then the next thing you should do is look at the next mountain. Not stand on the top of the one you're on and do the victory dance. It's time to go on. So, it is a constant and glorious struggle to improve, learn more, go deeper, understand more about this thing, and
absolutely.
So I think, I don't know about humility, but I think people that don't have it just aren't looking enough at what really the big picture is, because there's a famous old saying, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. And that's very true in this case, I believe.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, your Premier guitar rig rundowns and your Rockmania interview that I listened to a few days ago, you're you're constantly looking for that next continuous improvement, sort of,
as I was waiting for this, I was working on a whole new thing. So I'm trying to figure it out and failing at it miserably. And then halfway through, it started to come together.
Yeah. So first time I ever heard anything that you'd ever done was, I've just mentioned to you pre-recording, was live at the Astoria, Steve Vai.
Oh, wow.
That was when my guitar teacher basically gave me a ton of DVDs. He gave me Joe Satriani live in San Francisco. He gave me a Yngwie Malmsteen DVD of some description. I can't remember which one it was. And he gave me live at the Astoria, and he said, this is everything that you'll need to know about guitar. Go away and come back when you are a bit more enlightened.
Oh, man.
And that wasn't a very easy thing to pick up. So I tried my best to be those guitarists, and I ended up settling on bass and trying to master some of your stuff. So that was my first foray into instrumental music, really.
I think bass is a cooler instrument than guitar.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'll catch a lot of trouble for that.
Yeah.
It's funny, anytime they, in a movie, or I know on The Simpsons, they did an episode one time where Grandpa Simpson was cool. And anytime anything is cool, you hear a bass playing. Just imitate what coolness is,
Love
it. I'll take some solace in that. Though the guitar players get all the glory. We know that.
That's it. So last thing I want to mention before we actually get started is I woke up on Monday morning and I said to my girlfriend out loud, I was still dreaming, right, so this guy was in Talus, UFO, David Lee Roth, and Steve Vai. I said that out loud because I was obviously dreaming of this interview, which is just nuts.
Well, I hope I haven't inflicted too much emotional
that's all right.
carnage here. Don't worry about it.
That's
all
right.
We're all friends here. We're all in this together.
I go into a bit of tunnel vision when I've got a guest of your caliber on. So
you're too kind. Don't worry about it. We're all in this together, as I said.
Fantastic. So at the beginning of the interviews, I want to know from a musician's point of view, did you know that you always wanted to play music?
No. It was always a big thing around me. I had older brothers and sisters, so they were into music that was ahead of me. And my age group, I'm an old man, so they were listening to the Everly Brothers and Jerry Lee Lewis and the Beach Boys and things. This was pre-Beatles. And my mom was a big fan of Sinatra, Tony Bennett, Ella Fitzgerald, Bobby Darin, a lot of great singers. So I was always around that. So I always loved it, but it didn't put two and two together that maybe I could do that. And then around the corner from my house were the Hesse brothers. Joe Hesse was Joe and Jim Hesse, dear friends of mine. And Joe was a bass player. So I'd hear them practicing and I started getting a little bit more intrigued. And then my sister caught the bug to get a guitar and be a folk singer. And she lost interest in that. So I would sneak into her room and take her guitar and figure out songs. And then eventually it led to the concept that I could do this. But then the Beatles played on Ed Sullivan and everybody thought, I want to do that. That's my calling. We all saw the girls screaming with that. That's my job. So from that on, it became a passion. I had other passions in life. I was a big science buff. I was into paleontology and astronomy, biology, microscopy, a lot of chemistry, a lot of things like that. As a very young kid, and so that was a big interest to me. And I also, for a while, was quite a fishing and hunting fanatic. But music was the thing that was really catching my interest, very, very young. So I started off, and once I began and saw that I could actually begin to do something, pick up an instrument and make it play that song that I heard on the radio, even though it was rudimentary cowboy chords, basic. Just okay, I might be able to do this. So. But I wanted to play bass from the beginning because Joe, my neighbor, played bass. And so finally I managed to secure a bass and there I was.
Always resourceful. That's a free thread of your life, I think, is just finding that next step to go. The next question I've got for you is, do you consider yourself naturally talented or do you find yourself just grinding and forcing your sort of brute force, like I'm going to stay up all night and learn this song before I go to sleep sort of thing?
Well, I never considered that I had any natural talent. I didn't pick it up and have a go of it. I right away I needed to. But one thing I'm good at, and I rarely self-aggrandize, and I'm not now, but I'm just pointing it out. I'm a good troubleshooter. I can look at something and see if there's something that needs to be done. How do you do it? There's all these strings and frets, so all these notes are in there. So the thing you hear, that Bach Brandenburg Concerto, all those notes are in here. So figure it out. And that was basically it. So it never really came naturally to me at all. I think I believe I have a pretty good ear for hearing things and recognizing sonic things. We used to play Stump the Band back when CDs first came out. We get a CD rotating 5 CD changer and randomly hit the songs, and whoever could guess the song first would be the winner. We're of course having a few beers at the same time. Back in the late 80s, this was. And were some amazing moments at that. I didn't do this one, but this guy, I was close to his skill level. They clicked they clicked play, and Donovan's Mellow Yellow came on. We didn't know, but it starts with a hi-hat going. He got it on the second click. Donovan Mellow Yellow, before any music started. So you begin to recognize sonic things. Like when I hear a song that's like a different mix or a different take, right away, it especially something I know really well. I know that's not what I heard before. So I think that was maybe not an ability or skill, but an inborn advantage that I might have had, that sonically I recognize things right away. And I'm sure that helped my ear later on when I would recognize that's definitely a wrong note. That's a helpful thing to have.
Yeah, I used to be a bit of a binge watcher of Scott's bass lessons on YouTube, and he had a bassist on. I can't remember who it was, but he said something along the lines of, we've all got access to these notes, we just choose not to play them in this order. There isn't, a cheat code necessarily for bass. It's just, I've chosen to go E, F, G, B, not E, F, G, C, and that sort of thing, isn't it? And it's just
it's I'm somewhat of a pattern player, so there's patterns to those scales and patterns to the major, of course, the relative minor, harmonic, harmonic minor scale, everything. I don't know a lot of music terminology, but
Yeah.
I do understand patterns. And I always say to people I'm doing like my master class with, I say, you got three assets: your eyes, your ears, and your hands. So your hands, by their memory, will not go to that note because it's not in the right pattern. So they'll kind of automatically go to the right one once you train them to do so. Your ears will tell you if that's not the right note, and you can see the patterns as well. So you got those three assets there, and I've tried to take advantage of those three and balance them all out to the point where I can play something.
Yeah, I found fair enough. Awesome. So I've got a fan question straight out the gate.
All right.
The whole Mr. Big using a Makita drill as a guitar pick thing in Daddy, Brother, Lover, Little Boy. I'm so glad that I said that in the right order because I'm panicking about saying that in the wrong order all day.
No worry.
Was that Mr. Gilbert's idea, or was that a combined sort of band effort joint decision?
Paul did it first. He had in the band before Mr. Big. His singer said, "Man, you're playing so fast. The only way you can play faster is get a drill, put picks at the end of it." So he did.
Yeah.
And it turns out he is faster than the drill.
Yeah.
A lot of times we've done shows where we didn't have the drills with us, and we had to,
Yeah.
So you can do it without the drill.
Fantastic.
But we had used it. He used it in a solo prior to the Lean Into It album. Then when we got in the studio for that, we had this song we were working on, Daddy, Brother, Lover, Little Boy, and so why don't we do a drill solo? And I'm not sure if it was my request or suggestion or Paul's request or suggestion or the producers, or so you should maybe do it in harmony, bass and guitar. Okay. So we configured two Makita drills, and it was a special kind of drill because now when you let go of the trigger on the drill stops electronically. That motor stops just as a safety device. Before you let go, and it would continue going until it ran out of inertia.
Yeah.
So we did the double drill thing, and we did it fully and only as comedy. It was meant to be a joke. It was meant to be a goof and a joke. And sadly, some people got way too serious on it. Oh, we're gonna get egg beaters. Well, we'll show them. We're gonna get a chainsaw. We hate those guys, As always, everybody calm down. It was just a joke,
Yeah.
But we managed to become connected with the Makita Power Tool Company, and they sponsored a tour very, very handsomely for us as a result, and also gave us a bunch of free tools at the end, which me as a home handyman now in my house, I have a couple of great drills and angle grinders and even a Makita generator in case of emergency. So
there we go.
It's all good.
It's worth doing, isn't it? I bet you still use them now, don't you? Because I know how.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. It's perfect. I love that. So that was asked by Dan Lee, who is the singer of a band called New Device. So hello, Dan. How's it going? Got another guest question. Andy from Andy and Adele on Twitch. He's a big fan of your playing.
Wonderful.
He wants to know if bass playing primarily is about timing or knowledge, and what is more important to you?
Well, you cannot know much at all, but if your timing is good, you're doing okay. You can know everything there is, and if your timing is bad, you're not in good shape. So I think that would be the equation to determine the validity of one or the other.
Yeah.
Because bass, basically, one thing I love about bass is bass can be super simple. You sit there and play a single note and get through a lot of songs like that, a lot of parts of a lot of songs before you ever even have to move anywhere. So your timing is essential, and bass and drums are that thing that go together that creates a foundation. And so your timing, you've got to be synced up with the drummer.
Yeah.
And I played with drummers with shaky time, and it's agonizing because you're not sure where they're going. But then I've been lucky to play with a string of amazing drummers. And it is an absolute joy to work with someone because you are now on the same level, the same mind. ESP happens. the drummer does a move and you do the exact same move rhythmically on bass, and you look at each other and well, why is that? It was Mike Portnoy's birthday yesterday, and I posted how much I love our ESP, which is a kind of a thing that happens with every drummer I work with, where you watch each other and one guy will make a move and the other guy will do the exact same thing at the exact same time, unrehearsed, unknown. And it's a wonderful thing because you come up, it's just kind of a magical thing. But bass is easy to start, and that's a good thing. It's a great gateway to all of music because you're just holding one note down generally. That's an oversimplification, of course, we know. But generally, most bass playing is pretty easy. So if you get your timing right and you can come up, I always use one of my favorite bands in the whole world, AC/DC, is a great example. And their bass player is awesome. He doesn't have to play a lot of notes, but man, those songs are great. And it's a great way because it's such a great album to sit down and play along with that, with Back in Black or Highway to Hell. Just great records. And that's how that opens the door. Yeah. And eventually you get to the Mahavishnu Orchestra or Return to Forever or the Brandenburg Concertos or whatever else you want. Or stick with AC/DC if you're smart.
Yeah, I think the song Shot Down in Flames has like 4 notes. And it's just the bassist, I can't remember his name, is just playing D. He's just playing the 5th fret on the A string for about a minute straight, just plucking away.
Yeah, amazing. Is that Cliff Williams?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah,
great player. Just great player. I don't know him. I hope he would understand how much I absolutely love his playing. Because a lot of people think, oh, he would only want some jazz fusion guys. I'm not that much into that. I'm way more into AC/DC personally, but I do like many forms of music.
Fantastic. So this is just a question from me. So I've been listening to a bit of Talus, a bit of David Lee Roth, and like I said, I've been binge watching Astoria every moment I get, basically. So I found Talus to be a very efficient, lean band, and you talk about in some of your interviews when you were a 3-piece, you were a power 3-piece. You'd rather get that extra $25 than hiring a 4th member because it was all about grinding and filling up your gas tank at the end of the day, wasn't it? So where did this resourceful, scrappy state of mind originate for you, Billy?
Well, we were lucky to be of a generation to come up playing in clubs. And I'm not comparing myself to any of these bands, but that's what Van Halen did. That's what AC/DC did. That's what the Beatles did. That's what the Stones did. That's what every iconic band that went on to live for 30, 40, 50 years on as a career, they all slugged it out playing in clubs in front of an often indifferent audience where you had to become an entertainer to keep them engaged. And you had to learn a million songs in order to keep the people interested. We'd go out and talk to the people at the clubs and what songs do you listen to? Well, that new Robin Trower song. So next week we come back with Day of the Eagle and a little bit of Sympathy and whatever, just try to keep up with things. So that was, we played 21 nights in a row was our record. We did 3 complete shows in one day, morning, afternoon, and evening, where we set up, do our whole show, tear down, next one, 3 in one day. So those days were about the efficiency of getting in and getting the job done. So I never sang, and when I first got together with the guys that I one of the incarnations of Talus, they'd be saying, okay, the 3rd part harmony, Billy, you sing this. And I go, well, wait, I don't sing. They go, no, just sing it. Yeah. Okay. And I fortunately, it could croak out the correct pitch, so it was okay. And in harmony vocals, you don't necessarily have to be a lead stylized vocalist. You kind of have to just get those notes righteously in pitch and in time. And so so 3 guys singing 3-part harmony, guitar, bass, drums, and we had a lot of songs that were really adventurous with instrumentation, like "Carry On, Wayward Son" by Kansas, keyboards, violin, vocalists, guitar. I don't know how many people were in the band, but a lot of keyboard extra things I would end up doing on bass, little parts just to make up for not having to haul a Hammond B3 around, which is a monstrous endeavor. So that idea of getting in there, getting the job done, have everybody do as much as they possibly can, singing, playing, harmony. There's a harmony lead guitar part. I do the harmony on bass. Later on, I get pedals, Taurus pedals or whatever to hold the low note down while I did that, so you wouldn't lose the low frequency. My bass is set up, the dual output, a low output and a regular output, so that low end never goes away, even though I'm doing some nonsense up here. So it was all kind of built around the efficiency of getting in, getting on stage, getting it working, have a great night. The crowd loves it. They go home and they come back the next show, and you start making money, and you start selling out clubs, and you get a little bit more. And on top of it, it was a riot.
Yeah.
I mean, we weren't, hauling bricks around or installing air conditioning, which is certainly a fine job to do. And where would we be without you? But nevertheless, it was fun. There were certainly challenges, and it was physically demanding. I mean, get up there and be completely out of breath after running across the stage and get to the mic and hit those harmonies. And we ran a marathon at every show, and it was a lot of work. But that I do wish that generation that's happening now had the opportunity to get up on deck, on stage, and do what they do now. Because I see a lot of great players, but we also knew back in the day a great player may not work on stage at all. It doesn't always translate at all.
Yeah, I get that.
I see that even now. Like I'll work out some crazy wild shenanigans and get on stage and nope, not tonight. Maybe a month in I'll get it, but translating from sitting down and figuring something out to doing it on stage. Some people can, but I never could. Most people don't. So that it was a blessing in disguise to be slugging it out in the clubs. Yeah. And it helped us in so many ways. Also, as far as public relations and dealing with an audience, we didn't have a dressing room back in the day, so we'd step off the front of the stage and just walk out into the crowd and hang out with people, It wasn't like it is now where people jammed up the stage and it'd be a show. It was a club, and people were meandering around. There's a little dance floor. We get down, step off. Hey, how you doing? Sit down at a table with some people. We knew most everybody in the whole club. Yeah. So, we would engage them. We wouldn't run away from them and be rock stars. We're all in the same boat, So that mentality later on translated to, I believe what I have is a very good relationship with so many people that have come to see my shows and traveled around to see what I do and see bands I played with. So I'm supremely lucky to have hundreds of friends all over the world as a result of that. Yeah. So it's a good thing, and you can put your thumb on the pulse of what's going on by speaking with them. Yeah, I don't know that new song. It didn't seem okay. Let's go. Maybe work on it a little bit. Not that you pander to them, but nevertheless, it's good to have a critical voice once in a while. I mean, you can tell by the volume of your applause sometimes whether you're hitting the mark or not. That's always a good thing.
Yeah, it's not a case of like throwing your toys out the pram and saying, right, we're not going to play that song ever again. It's just go back into the studio and try and figure out how you can make it better next time you play that club and stuff like that.
Well, there's fine tuning to songwriting. I did a seminar last weekend. Desmond Childs was the main writer. He wrote tons of things for Aerosmith. He wrote Living La Vida Loca. He's one of the most successful songwriters in the world right now. And I've worked with him a little bit before, but the title of my seminar was Fine Tuning Your Songs. So people think a lot of times when they're writing, they get done with it and that's it. That's the song. If it's not good, no, take it apart, change it. The chorus is good. Let's put that in another song. All kinds of things can be done. Absolutely. So that's an important thing. And I'm talking too much. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. No, it's fine. You can't talk too much. Trust me, I'm a massive fan. It's fine. I think that whole business thing, though, of actually integrating yourself with the crowd and handing out business cards after your gig and networking with people, and the person at the show might know someone who's about to get married, and that could be a gig for you. And
back in the day, that was so important thing.
Yeah, definitely. It's so important even now. Like obviously, we're surrounded by Facebook and social media and stuff like that, but there's nothing like talking to people face to face.
Yeah, coming to your gig. I often say this, and it is true of everyone in my business. I don't know if everyone realizes it though, but everything I have, my home, every instrument, everything I have, comes from a fan buying a T-shirt, a ticket, or music. So,
Absolutely.
To me, they're important. Interesting. I got a message the other day from someone who was kind of irate that some fans were berating an artist because he wasn't giving them something for free. And I said, well, I agree with him. I don't do it that way, but I agree with him because once you bought your ticket to the show, you got the show. We're even. That's it. And if I choose to get on the bus and go to the next city and do the next show, that's it.
Yeah.
For me, I choose to hang out, say hello to people. There's a paid meet and greet, which I don't like, but
I get that. Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
But I always tell people, hey, if you can't afford it, I'm going to be out by the bus afterwards. So bring your camera, come on. And I hang out. I remember in Germany a couple of tours ago with some band, maybe Mr. Big. It was cold and it was raining, and there was no place for anybody to go. So I just went out there, put my hat on, and the Sharpies kept dying because as soon as the Sharpie gets wet, it doesn't work anymore. So we went through about 40 Sharpies, and I signed everything. But we had a riot. It was great. They were wonderful people. And
it's fantastic.
That was cool. Yeah, I dug that.
Love that. Brilliant. So what was the point in your life / career, or you might not even be there yet because you're so humble, where you thought to yourself, okay, things are now moving in the right direction, and I think that I can actually make this viable as a career, and I can now make more risks, if that makes sense, because I've kind of cemented myself as a fundamental musician?
Well, I've always been a risk taker as a player. I got away with it by luck, I think. A dear friend of mine, Jeff Berlin, a great bass player, says a lot of people can get away with all those kinds of crazy nonsense because they can do it, and I agree with him at that point. But you have to be really careful, and that goes so far as to lose sensibility, and playing oddball, wacky, crazy note configurations that nobody gets. There's a line between that. But I think there were a couple of notable moments when in 1985, David Lee Roth called me and flew me out to LA to start a band with me. And, we went through, there's a lot more to that, of course, but about 8 or 9 months later, we're rehearsing the show that we're going to go out on the Eat 'Em Smile tour. And I'd worked with Dave for almost a full year there in the studio, writing all kinds of stuff. I had all kinds of, we've been hanging out for a straight year. And I'm on stage and we're playing and we're doing I'm on Fire by Van Halen. That's going to be in the set. And I'm playing and singing at the mic and singing the harmony part. And Dave comes over to me and we're singing together. And all of a sudden it dawned on me, that's David Lee Roth. Holy, I'm in the band. This is, because there's just a whirlwind of things prior to that. You don't really have a moment to see that. And that was an amazing moment. And then we went, we were on The Tonight Show, which is an American TV show. Up until recent years or recent decades, it was the place everybody watched every night. It was the thing. And every president and Oscar winner and royalty and the most famous people in the world sat in that chair and got interviewed by all the hosts through the years that were hosting it. And the first time, I remember I called my mom and would say to her, "Hey, Mom, Mr. Big, we got a #1 single." She'd be like, "No, that's nice." "Mom, the record has gone platinum." I go, "Oh, that's very good. I'm very glad for you boys. Mom, MTV #1 video. Great. That's good." I go, "Mom, I got to be on The Tonight Show." "What? You're kidding me." That was the thing everybody would define success as. So the first time we were on, not everyone got to sit in the chair. First time we were on, we played our thing, the curtain came down, shook the guy's hand, thank you, we're done. Next time we played, they came backstage and goes, it was Jay Leno was those. Jay wants you guys to sit on the couch. Who's going to sit in chair #1? Now, at the time, generally, I was kind of the spokesman for the band. I put the band together, started the band, so everybody kind of looked at me. So I said, okay, so there I was, chair #1 on Tonight Show, and that was... I watched that show since I was a kid. Since I was a little kid. So to actually be on it was quite
definitely
an incredible honor, and I'm supremely grateful.
Full circle moment for you. Fantastic. So this is just a question about your bass, the Yamaha Attitude bass, which you have sat on your lap as you do pretty much every interview I've ever seen you do, because you just always got it to hand, haven't you? Did you have Yamaha specifically in mind to manufacture your signature model? And does it still sell well to this day? And can you please send me one? That's just a joke.
Oh, well, I'll see about that. No, I didn't. I knew about Yamaha, and I knew them from Pro Audio and keyboards. But the Pro Audio place in Buffalo, New York, Unistage, where they made our PA system for us and various things. I went in one time because they were a Yamaha dealer. They happened to have a Yamaha bass there one time. And it was just kind of in passing, but I remember picking it up and thinking, man, this thing is put together. This is incredible. Check down the neck and see man, it's rock solid. So I just remembered from that moment, man, those basses are great. So I briefly had a little thing with Kramer, but the instruments were just awful, and I couldn't do it. Even though I was broke and had nothing, I ended up sending the instruments back to them I just couldn't bring myself to endorse something that I didn't believe in.
Yeah.
And so Yamaha got in touch with me after my picture was in Guitar Player magazine. They said, "We want to talk with you next time you're out to LA," which was the NAMM show of 1985, January 85. Oh no, I'm sorry. Just before that, December of 84, Talus had played in LA. And I had worked it out to have a meeting with Yamaha while I was there. So a friend of mine drove me down to Orange County where their office is, and they said, "Hey, we'd like to do a endorsement thing with you guys and make a bass for you and have you become part of this." I was great. So we began putting together. This is actually the third version of Attitude, but the Attitude is the third bass we had. The first was an RBX bass, which they already made, but it was small. It was made for domestic Japanese market. People generally of smaller stature there, so it was smaller, and it was a great bass. But it just didn't. I was used to the big old Manly P bass, and then they did the BB 3000, which I just posted about on my Facebook. I just went over it and did that's her there, right? This one.
That's it. Yeah.
It's a pinky one.
Yeah.
But that was a great bass, but it's still. I'm a creature of habit, so I'm just used to the way that cutout on the bass is up against me here, and the way this goes against my leg when I hold it, and it's part of my thing. So we went back to the drawing board and we designed this, myself along with Yamaha, and we incorporated all the things from that first bass, which is the wife.
Yeah.
All the modifications I did on that, we did correctly on this one because I would with a hammer and a screwdriver. I didn't have a chisel.
Yeah.
Wasn't done right out of necessity. So they came up with the first Attitude bass, and it was righteous from the beginning. And that was the first incarnation. They did a second version, and then a third, and then they just did a 30-year anniversary version too. So, and they've sold incredibly well. They're completely out of stock all around the world. They only made 30 of the 30-year anniversary ones, but they were sold in about 45 minutes. They got snatched up, and they're an expensive bass. And I do my best to keep costs down because to hand make something in Japan is expensive.
Yeah.
A lot of companies now they'll manufacture in China or Indonesia or someplace where the labor costs are much cheaper. But Japan, the labor costs are not cheap at all. So, but it shows the thing is a high quality bass of a lifetime. This will be hopefully to you what that old P bass was to me. Last me a whole career pretty much. So it's been and the reason I went with this instead of continuing playing that is it was getting beat up and cracked and split, and I valued it so much I wanted to kind of retire it and hang on to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if I do get an extra one, I'll see about sending it to you.
Yeah, fantastic. There we go. Yeah, do you play the production model as if I went to a guitar shop and bought that bass that you've got in front of you right now? It's the exact same configuration and specification.
Absolutely. There's the stamp on the back.
Yeah.
Right out of it's got And that was part of the deal with Yamaha is that if you make a bass for me, the ones in the store got to be the same as I play, because at the time when the endorsement thing was exploding, and especially Kramer was one of the reasons, and no offense to Kramer, they've been purchased by Gibson now. I think the new Kramers are probably great. Sorry, but everybody's got a little problem in their past that they're whatever. At the time, it was owned by different people, and I saw that the way they were making those instruments, I thought, there's no way I'm going to let somebody buy that.
Yeah.
So I really wanted the quality to be the same, because a lot of guys would get the Bubinga wood koa body, and then you go to the store and yours is plywood, you know. So it's not a fair thing. So yeah, the ones that I have are exactly the ones that are in the store, and that is an important thing.
Yeah, I think if you're putting your name on something as a signature model, then it has to be the best it can possibly be. It can't just be this cash cow.
Exactly. And I don't make a lot of money off basses at all. I make a royalty because of my work on the design.
Okay.
But it's not much. It's not that much at all. I'd be embarrassed to tell you how much it is. There's a couple other things that I endorse. Most things I get no money for. It's funny because people think, oh, he's endorsed. He must be rolling in cash. I've gotten me and Larry DiMarzio from DiMarzio Pickups laugh about it, because I've been endorsing DiMarzio Pickups forever, and they're the greatest. And Larry is the most wonderful guy. And the Willpower pickups, which are a great pickup, they're used on the Yamahas, and people love them. Now we got a new one, the Relentless pickup, which is even better. But we laugh about it. Yeah, when the royalty check comes in, I'll either send you, when the royalties come in, I'll either send you a check or get you a bottle of wine. I go, yeah, you'll probably get it. You'll probably get it at Trader Joe's too. The $2 chuck, we call it, the $2 bottle of wine.
Love that.
But I've never been money motivated, much to my wife's dismay. Not necessarily in it for cash and money.
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah,
I love to play, and if I can pay the bills, I'm good.
Do you find yourself messing around with 5 or 6 string basses?
Recently, I did, only because I'm a believer in 4-string, because I think people take offense at so many things these days, and from I did a video on fret leveling on a cheap bass so you can make it play better, and literally got death threats from people.
God.
They were upset that,
wow,
how dare you? I mean, unbelievable. And it was just block and delete, you know. Like
yeah.
But there's a huge controversy. There's got to be 6-string, no 5, no 4, no, I hate you, you know, you suck, you know. And it's awful, and it's not necessary. If you play 6-string, God bless you, go make $1 million, have the most successful career in history. If you play a 5-string, fantastic. A 4, great. Fretless, wonderful. Whatever you want to do. It's all music. But people get into this minutia of what's important and what I should do. And our side against your side, because they're not playing, and they're not practicing, and they're not writing, and they're not performing. You got all kinds of time to go on the line and go, well, you're 5-string. What are you talking? You know, no. You know, so for me, a lot of times, going to a 5-string bass or a 6-string bass is because you haven't yet explored everything you need to explore on 4.
Yeah.
Yes, there's been 5- and 6-string violins and violas and cellos and uprights, but the grand amount through the centuries has been 4 strings. There's a thing with 4 strings, with your hand and how it go across. You've got to flatten out when you get 5 and flatten even further when you get 6. So I have a beautiful 6-string on the wall there, the bass that I played on Just Take My Heart, Mr. Big. We had a hit single with it. And it's a 6-string. It's glorious, beautiful Yamaha TRB6. Incredible instrument. And I had it on for a couple of days and was just running, and there's no difference. That's another problem with 5 or 6-string bass, is that people that don't understand, oh, he's good. And I had a guy write to me recently and said exactly the same thing. I screenshot it just so I could show my friends. Well, 4-string, 5-string, he must be way better. 6-string, he must be amazing. You know, and so the 4-string players are like, hold on a second. And I always say, okay, Getty, Steve Harris, Chris Squire, Jocko, Jeff Berlin. I could go on for hours. All 4-string players. And so it doesn't mean, and so to the average public, they get an unwarranted impression that if you're playing more than 4 strings, you must be way better. You know, just imagine a genius. He can play 6 strings. And I had some kid write to me, "You play 4 strings," and I won't use his name. He plays 6 strings.
So he's better. Yeah, great.
Again, then he must be much better. So why don't you write to him and see if he answers you?
Yeah. That's interesting. Approaching it like a level in a video game of like intermediate, advanced, expert, and it's about what you do on those strings first and foremost, isn't it?
Exactly. And I did a bass thing one time with a bunch of bass players, and a guy came and he had like the neck was about this wide.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
amazing craftsmanship. And I don't know how many strings were on it. Probably maybe 18 to 24.
Bloody hell.
And I'm thinking, wow, this is gonna be. I can't wait to hear this. This is gonna be pretty wild. So I'm in the dressing room and I'm back there and I can hear all the bass players playing. I go, "When's the guy with the 24-string bass going on?" You go, "Oh, that's him now." And I go, "It just sounds like any other bass." I don't hear him going like, "Wow."
Yeah.
Hello.
Crazy.
I never heard it. It was just like he just used the 4 strings in the middle, I guess.
Yeah.
But so it's an unnecessary controversy. If you play
definitely.
5 or 6, God bless you, and you're still my friend, and I'll get you some extra strings to do on there if you want.
They'll just be in a pack rather than on the bass. Love that. So this is a bit of a crazy question. I have seen in some of your interviews that you do get a bit bored of getting the same questions asked over and over again. So I have tried my best to come up with some crazy ones for you. What is the biggest disaster / technical issue you've ever faced on stage in your career?
Well, there's been, due to the amount of time I've spent on stage, as I mentioned earlier, night after night after night after gig after gig after gig for years and years and years, you get used to anything and you can handle almost anything. We were in Japan filming a show. Everybody from USA flew over because it was a really important video they're going to do of this huge show, and we're in the middle of To Be With You and Just Take My Heart and all the hits, and it was a really critical thing. It had to be righteous. And one of my main alembic preamps died.
Yeah.
And it's in the rack.
Yeah.
And normally it would be stop the show, we're going to take a half an hour and figure out what to do. So I ran off the stage, grabbed a couple of plugs out of it, plugged it into another one nearby, which wasn't right, it wasn't the same, but I knew enough to know I can get sound out of this, put it back in, and it's seen, I'm back there like for an eternity. I'm thinking, oh no, I ruined the manager's going to kill me. I came back up on stage and we couldn't finish the show. I saw the video footage of it. I went off stage, came back. It was so fast that it seemed an eternity to me, but it wasn't. But other than things of that nature, it's been very few. Recently, at some of the Scouts bass lessons, you see me wearing sunglasses because we played a club, a venue that had a huge like dance club lighting system on a giant winch that would come down, and a million lights would flash and go crazy, and lasers and stuff like that. And they brought it down halfway and used it for the stage lighting for us. It looked great. It was amazing. But they were so bright, the guy hit me with something, and I had a retinal burn. Welders get it. If you don't wear the welding thing with that dark glass. If you ever look through that glass, you can't see anything. That's how bright the welding torch is. It happened to my brother. He was watching a guy weld one time, and he went into horrible pain with it. So it hurt, and I while I was playing, I just went back and kind of rested my head on the amp for a second, and went to a hospital the next day. But it was a huge long line. I think I said, I'll be okay. I think so. But to this day, I got a little bit of a cloud as a result of that. So, but it was, I haven't really gotten, I think I cracked a rib on stage in Japan one time, but none of these things ever stopped the show.
Absolutely. The show must go on. That's it. Fantastic. I was going to say something then. I've completely forgotten what it was. Shouldn't. It'll probably come back to me. That's fine.
It will.
how did you meet Steve Vai?
We were on the same label. Talus was on Combat Records, which is a subsidiary of Relativity Records, which was part of Important Records out of New York City. And Steve was on Relativity Records. And I think we had spoken prior to us ever meeting about possibly doing something together, because Steve had come out with his, his Attitude song, first kind of EP or whatever he did. It was very first record. And so the guys from Relativity wanted him to meet me because we would play down in New York where the company was a lot. So they'd always come to see Talus and stuff. We were good friends of ours. And so we spoke about it. And then when I first went to LA, well, Dave flew me in, but I was sworn to secrecy. So I couldn't tell anybody anything about anything, no matter what. And so I'm out one night at the Rainbow Bar and Grill, and Steve Vai is there. Now, Dave and I were looking for a guitarist. So, and I thought about Steve and recommended him. So I went out there, and there's Steve. Oh, Steve, how you doing? And it's a photo of us standing together at that time too. And the photo was funny because I just said to him prior to the photo being snapped, there's a thing I've been working on that I can't talk about. You might be interested. And he goes, I think I know the thing you're talking about. We knew neither one of us could say anything about it. So sure enough, we ended up calling him down. He came down to Dave's house and was the perfect guitarist for Eat 'Em and Smile.
Yeah.
So he's still a dear friend of mine, like a brother to me. I love him completely, and his wonderful wife and incredible sons, and moved along with Greg Bissonette and Brett Tuggle, the other two Eat 'Em and Smile musicians. We are all very, very close friends, and we all have nothing but love and respect for Dave as well. So
yeah,
it's a good thing.
Do you still speak to Steve, and do you occasionally get to go to his Harmony Hut?
Oh yeah. I was out there when we were working on the new Winery Dogs record writing. I had a night off, so me, Steve, and Greg got together, made some awful pizza. We made a mistake, and he sat us down and played us a couple of things that he'd been working on. Pretty amazing. He's got just a great ear. I saw a thing he did now with his new triple
Hydra.
Thing. So great, and he is just a wonderful human being too. I know some people who are very famous and extremely talented, and I still love them anyway. But there's a dark side to them, or a side to them you feel bad about. That ain't the case with Steve or Greg or Brett in any way either. And even Dave, he's still a hero to me. I've been lucky to play with people that are quality human beings, and that's one of the things I'm most grateful for.
I think the thing with Steve Vai for me is the level of innovation that he has. And if someone says to him, you can't do that, he'll do an entire album just to prove them wrong.
Yeah, he's bound and determined.
Yeah,
he's no barriers for sure, and it's just supreme talent too. And his musical understanding. So I can't read music. I don't know anything about what I don't know. I don't know what chord that is. I know it's the beginning of Watcher of the Skies by Genesis. So
that's it.
I don't know what chord it is. So, so he's. I'm lucky to have guys like him, Tony McAlpine, Jeff Berlin, a few other guys that really know so much about music. So if I have a question, what's an augmented 11th? You can explain that to me.
Yeah, fantastic. Love that. Right, so technology. How has music changed for you in regards to the technology and the times that we now live in when they've moved forward so aggressively? You seem aware of the whole get it or get left behind mentality, and you don't seem to shy away from new emerging markets.
Well, you've got to roll with the changes, and I was an early adopter of all things digital because it was so much easier. Because you're working with a tape machine, and you gotta fix something. I remember they used to splice the 2-inch tape with all 32 tracks or however many tracks were on it. We'd have to leave the room of the engineer in complete silence, get the razor blade, and because you could blow it, and that would be, you'd ruin the take completely. So it was just precarious and difficult and stressful, and then you came out with a situation where, could you do it like that? Here you go. Yeah, but with a little more whatever. Here it is. okay, could you take it back the way it was first? Here you go. So life is so much easier. Now, there was always a concern about the sound quality, but I'm a true believer that what you get used to is what works for you. As an example, we started out with tube amps, and tubes have a sound. They distort a certain way and they respond a certain way. So people fall in love with tube amps, and anything not a tube amp, they hate. If it would have been the other way around, where we started out with solid state amps, and they're super quick and fast and bright and shrill and no nonsense, and they don't overheat and they're reliable, and then tube amps would have come along, would have gone, wow, this fluffy, whoppy, indiscernible tubes. Give me my solid state amps. That's what you grew up on. So you learn to love that. So people that grew up on tape and radio with a lot of compression on it, when they would hear digital with a greater dynamic range and no noise and no hiss, maybe they just weren't ready for it. But from the early times, I knew even if it didn't sound exactly the same, it still sounds good. And if I'm at a party and I put on the digital version of You Shook Me All Night Long, or the cassette version, nobody's going to know the difference.
Yeah.
No, they're going to hear the first notes of that chord. All right, there are purists that have better ears than mine that will dispute most everything I'm saying, and rightfully so, because there is a sound to each thing. Some things I can't always discern it myself, but in the studio, slugging it out, spending time. Now with a laptop, you can have the equivalent of a $10 million studio in the 80s, but it's even more than the equivalent, because you do so many things you could never have done, ever. Were impossible to do. Pitch correction could never be done. It only came out after they started to be able to change pitch on the original Eventide harmonizer. Somebody got smart and said, there's probably a way to do this to the voice, and they did.
Yeah. I've heard stories about, I think it's Roger Taylor and John Deacon only being able to do one take for like Queen records because the tape was so expensive. And it wasn't, I'm going to try that again, but with more feeling. It was, that is your only chance. And I can't imagine the amount of pressure that must put you under, knowing that is what everyone is going to hear.
We had first Mr. Big record recorded on tape. And Pat Torpy, God rest his soul, was in the drum room. I'm in my little bass spot. We're tracking. And we're rolling, and something didn't happen. And I remember, because we'd laugh about it all the time. Pep said, "Come on, hurry up! We're wasting tape," because we're on a tight budget, but we're on a budget, so it was always part of the mentality.
Not wasting money.
I love all things digital, and right now, not only can you make a record with your laptop or even your iPhone if you wanted to, you can make your video with that, and then you can get on social media. In a couple of clicks, you're exposed to about 2 billion people. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's not we're wasting time or money, it's we're wasting tape. That's the most important resource on the planet.
It was at one point.
Do you have any pre-stage rituals, and where do you eat, if possible, before/after a show that you play?
Never before. I can't eat before, because I gotta be lightweight on my feet in the boxing ring there. And no rituals really. I practice. I warm up a lot. Usually the bus comes to the venue around 11 or 12 noon, and I'll get out, and one of my wonderful crew guys will set up a little spot for me with a chair or a couch and my little practice amp, black coffee, and sit there and tear into it for hours, and then do sound check, come back and do a little bit more, and then when I hear the opening act go on, that means time to get dressed and get ready, and because they usually go for about 45 minutes or so, gives me about an hour, and then we just go up. I don't have about halfway through the show I might have a beer, but I would not drink wine on a gig, because it just is too quick and too much, and I need my sensibilities about me. But usually halfway through the show, I'm sweating so much the beer isn't going to touch me, so if I have a little sip, it's not going to be a problem. But I'm not a drug guy. I never tried cocaine. I haven't had a drug since 1971. When I was in high school, I smoked dope a couple times,
Mm.
but since then I haven't had anything. And
Yeah.
I do like a couple of beers and wine, as my people who see my posts know very well.
Yeah, yeah. We'll get to that in a bit. Yeah, fantastic. Any chance of another solo album?
For a
Any chance of another solo album?
Yeah, I got my phone with me all the time, so I come up with an idea and I'll set it down on selfie video and play the part that I just came up with and then explain into the phone. All right, that would be the verse. Now here's the chorus. Turn it off, figure it out. Okay, here's the chorus to that verse, and I've got thousands of those ideas.
Yeah.
So I'm figuring out which hard drive to load them all into and start reviewing them and come together.
Fantastic.
And I'm lucky to have exposure to great engineers and great players here in Nashville. It was like that in LA too, of course, but Nashville is a whole new set of them. So I can do most of it right here in my home studio too, which is nice.
How do you deal with and combat writer's block?
Just do it. Pick it up and go.
Just keep going.
I don't feel like practicing today. We'll do it anyway. I mean, a couple times I'm sitting there. Well, I could scroll on Instagram for another hour. I forced to put the phone down, pick it up, and go.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're just not into it. I say, okay, so let me just run. Finger exercises, boring. But hit them all, hit them right, hit them in time. Each note the same length, same volume. Work at it, drill, drill, drill. And then in about 15 minutes, and it starts to come back. And all of a sudden now you're actually playing.
Yeah.
I think I'm a firm believer in force it. Just sit down with a pen and a paper. Think of a song title. I don't know. How about, okay, what else? What else? And just go.
Yeah.
You have to sit down. There's a great challenge to sit down with a blank piece of paper and a pen, or open up a Word document blank and your keyboard.
Yeah.
And however you may choose to do it, and just start to go. And you'll find almost every time that it'll come. So you can sit back and say, "Oh, I got writer's block. I'm not going to work today." Next day, I still got kind of writer's block. I'm not going to work today. Now you wasted 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days.
Yeah.
If you would have sat down the first day and just forced it and written a horrible song that you hate, that's awful, it wasn't a waste of your time.
Yeah.
Then you say, why do I hate it? Why is it awful? Well, I'm not going to do that again. So the next song is a little better. The next one's a little better. And then you do a great one. Then you do an awful one again. And then you do another wonderful one. So you got to really kind of, I'm a firm believer in just pushing it. Same thing with rehearsal. Sometimes you get a rehearsal. What do you want to do? I don't know. Let's run the set. Run the set.
Yeah.
Well, we already did it. Well, let's run it again.
Yeah.
Top to bottom. Go ahead. Until you can breathe it and it becomes you. When you're up on stage, it makes a difference to the audience. So you know what you're doing. You know what song is next. You know you got variations of what you're going to play there. You know your harmony parts. You know your spots, and it's hard work. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, definitely push through. When you go to a gig prepared, you feel quite bulletproof, don't you, and quite ready for anything that's going to come your way. Whereas if you've just got ideas, it's probably going to be a bit of a disaster.
Yeah, I learn everything I can before getting a rehearsal, and most of the guys I work with do too. As a matter of fact, with Mr. Big, I would go in with Pat Torpy, and we would run the whole set, bass and drums, so I know exactly every move he was doing. He knew exactly what I was doing.
Yeah.
So after doing that for 4 or 5 days, the whole set, time and time and time again, then the guitarist would come in, and he'd have this foundation of 30 inches of solid concrete and rebar to stand on, because the bass and drums were locked in precisely. Then when the singer came in, that was even better, because he had all this underneath him, could relax, just sing, and know that everything behind him was righteous. So it's hard work does pay off.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Love that. What do you look for in emerging artists that are looking to break through? Is it, in your opinion, easier or harder to get noticed these days with the internet and everything, like you say, being available to publish to billions of people in one press?
I think it's still kind of even, because in the old days, in order to get into a studio, it was almost impossible. You had to pay a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And to get to a record company was really tough. And then if you to put out a record, it required contracts and lawyers and liabilities and lawsuits. And now you can get together with your friends, rent some mics if you don't have enough mics or some input stuff, record to Pro Tools or Logic or whatever you use. Uh, make it available for streaming, or go to CD Baby and have them press up your CDs and distribute them for you, or the DistroKid, or there's a whole bunch of other great services that just get your music everywhere. Now you have access to every promotional tool in the world with social media. But it's much more crowded now too. So it kind of balances itself out.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
I remember when I read an article about when desktop publishing began, and they were worried that, well, everybody's going to have a desktop computer and everybody will be able to write a book. So we're going to be swamped with all these books. We won't know what to do with all these great books. Every year, the same amount of books rise to the top and become bestsellers. Similar to music, every year about the same amount of artists come through. So I think in the grand scheme of the population, there is a finite, maybe not finite, but there is a percentage of people that will come up with great stuff and will break through. And I say to people, the chances of you being in that percentage are slim, but there's no reason in the world why you can't.
Yeah.
You can be in that.
Yeah.
And I remember I did a clinic at Musicians Institute, and I said, the chance, and there was about 400 or 500 people, I said, the chances of anyone in this room making it are pretty slim. If one of you out of this whole group makes it, that's a lot. And I could see their eyes like, oh my God. I go, but there's no reason why everyone in this room can't do it. And it's really true. Well, I'm not handsome, or I'm overweight, and my voice is kind of unusual. Anytime you give me an excuse, I'll find somebody that had exactly that and made it huge.
Yeah.
I remember seeing a motivational speaker, a guy who was a drummer, and he was horribly burned in an accident. And one of his hands had a little bit of a thumb left and no fingers. And the other one had nothing.
Yeah.
And he taped the drumstick and managed to hold the other one. It sat behind a kit and annihilated. It was amazing. Yeah. So all the drummers out there with full physical health and a bright, shining, muscular, functional, physical self. You know, there's people with way worse than you that have done better. So I really don't think there's that. That's why it harkens back to the earlier question about, you know, what do you do when you have writer's block?
Yeah.
You write. You start writing. You know, if you think you're not going to make it because of something, well, go do it. There's people that, you know, Ed Sheeran was busking in a subway, and somebody saw him, and spectacular, incredible songwriter, and mind-blowingly successful. And he just goes up on a stadium with 60,000 people with his guitar.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Low overhead.
Unusual question, and you can say no if you want, but can you give me the names and not the phone numbers of 10 people in your phone? As in, like, famous people that have public figure notoriety. Is that the word?
Yeah. A lot of people.
Yeah.
Brian Adams, Steve Vai. I think one of the Rush guys, either Alex or Getty. Let's see, who else do I know? Robert Fripp, wonderful guy. I have a phone greatest hits from the old days.
Yeah.
That I saved to digital, and it's got Peter Frampton, Buck Dharma from Blue Oyster Cult. I got a bunch of recordings of Ed Van Halen and Dave calling. I will never play them for the public, but
of course, yeah.
Yeah, sadly, Ed Van Halen, we lost him. It was a horrible thing, but he's in there. What else do I know? Well, that was a bunch.
That was a lot. Yeah, that's enough.
Oh, Dennis Chambers.
Yeah.
Cheap Trick player, Tom Peterson. Billy Gibbons.
Yep.
Guys like that.
You had me at Bryan Adams.
I love Bryan Adams.
I
He's
love
so
Bryan
great.
Adams. He's a fantastic songwriter, isn't he?
Amazing.
I was meant to ask you this pre-recording, but this is another strange question. Are you involved in any charity work, and do you look after your local community in any way that you can?
Not continuously, but I have a plan now. I still have all of my wardrobe archive from all the Eat 'em and Smile shows and videos and everything like that, and a huge archive of things that a lot of fans would love. So I could be the I don't know what word I'd use to describe myself if I was this type of person. Sell it all and keep the money. I I don't want to do that. So I want to do an auction. The first people we that have come to us was an organization that gets bulletproof vests for first responders, medical, fire, and the police. I think they're provided for them, but I'm not sure. Not all municipalities provide police with bulletproof vests. A lot of times, firemen will come on and up to put a building out, and there's still some going on, and they get shot at. Or even a medical technician, ambulance shows up, and there's still some, and they get shot at. So these people save lives. We all depend on them, or someone that we know depends on them at some point or other between life and death. And that's. I want to do the full-on auction. It'll clean. I'll get a lot of space in my house out of this. All the stuff I wore on Eat 'em Smile, all the things on magazine covers that I wore, and things in articles and on stage, and tons of other things and collections of magazines and all kinds of stuff like that. So I was going to auction it all off for that charity. Maybe not exclusively them, but maybe a few. But I want to do it because I just think it'd make a lot of people happy to have some of this stuff. And also the money would do some good rather than going into my pocket, because I probably got it for free anyway because the wardrobe was usually provided to us. So sometimes in there I did pay for it, but I think it would be people see the value of it, and hopefully they see the value of contributing to something that saves people's lives.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well,
the whole space thing's quite funny because I remember Devin Townsend did a clinic. I've got his drummer coming on in a couple of months, which is mental. But Devin Townsend talks about the fact that he was endorsed by PV for quite a long time, and he got quite a lot of stuff sent to him, whether he liked it or not. He would get like 4x12s, 2x12s, and he'd get 7-string guitars and stuff sent to him. And he actually said to PV once, "Can I sell some of this because rent's due?" And they were like, "You cannot sell anything that we send you. Don't even think about it." And it's just funny that like sometimes you get these things, like you say, from Yamaha in abundance, and you're like, I don't even know if I'm ever going to be able to unbox this because I've already got so much stuff on my walls.
Well, Yamaha said that me and Chick Corea are the only two people that sent things back.
Yeah.
We didn't, and I've had a policy of not selling endorsement stuff.
Absolutely.
Anything I get on an endorsement. A couple of pedal companies sent me things, and they're small companies, and they were great, but I couldn't use it, so I'd contact them and say, "Can I send this back to you? I know you're a small company and it's expensive for you." So they said, "Yeah, we'd appreciate it." So I sent it back. And that's, again, I'm not a money motivated guy necessarily. Yeah. And sometimes they say, "Yeah, go ahead and sell it." If you want it. By the time we get it back and rebox it, and it's too much of a pain in the ass. So I when the pandemic started, there was a guy who you take photos of your pedals, send him the photos, and he'd just send you a check, and you mail him the pedals.
Okay.
Because I had stuff from people all over the place, so I knew I was going to be out of work for a while. So yeah, I did take that check, but it wasn't that much. It wasn't that much. But I'm gonna be auctioning everything off as soon as possible.
Another strange question for you: if you could be any animal, what animal would you be and why?
Well, I'm fond of cats. As people know, for our Rebel, our little kitty cat. I'm surprised he hasn't come down here howling at me for not paying attention to him. Right, a lion or a tiger would be pretty cool, but that's a tough one. But I love cats, and I love big cats, and all animals. I've always been a nature conservationist.
Yeah,
I was actually subscribed to the Conservationist magazine when I was a kid.
There we go. Thank you very much. So, favorite place in the world to play?
Hard to say. There. I hope some people don't take this the wrong way, but most places are the same. Once you get there, the crowd is pumped and ready to go. And I remember a very famous band was telling us, yeah, when we play Japan, the audience just sits there. And I go, when we play, they lost their minds. That's great. What are you talking about? Even one time we had a girl, pardon me, this is a little off color, but a young lady is out there in the crowd and the whole crowd is going crazy. And she pulled her top off, which is unheard of in Japan. They're very, very conservative. Unheard of. She pulled her top off. And I'm looking at the guys in the band like, check this out. And they're running over to my side and said, oh my God, unbelievable. Nobody in the audience saw her because they were all looking at us. Nobody looked sideways to see. So it was, so she kept her
decency.
Yes, her whatever.
Incognito flashing.
But what was the question? I forgot. I lost my train of thought.
That's all right. I don't blame you. Favorite place in the world to play?
Oh yeah. So South America is mind blowing.
Yeah.
They have a passion down there, and it's known. They're eating, drinking, dancing, living. They do have a passion. Italy, of course, but I don't want to cliche it that the culture is known for that kind of food and dance and that kind of passion. And in Scandinavia, it's awesome too. That's great. In Germany, amazing gigs. Japan is incredible. We've been very lucky to make so many friends there and play there so many times. I think we did. I remember the 300th show we did there with Mr. Big. They had a big 300. I'm thinking a big celebration, and it's tough to pick one. But Brazil is off the hook. Brazil is amazing. Argentina, Chile, Brazil, Paraguay, Uruguay, Colombia, Venezuela. All those places were amazing. Bolivia.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Really great. But all over Europe, it's been wonderful too. And we're very lucky.
So one of my bucket list things to do as a 32-year-old male, I'm probably going to get there at about 45 of the current rate of everything costing quite a lot of money in the UK at the moment. Japan. I really, really want to go to Japan. Can you recommend me a place in Japan that I should check out as a first-person sort of trip?
Well, the good news is, and there's actually no bad news. The real good news is Japan is the most exotic, wild, fascinating, other planetary experience you can have. And also, you're safe. English is everywhere.
Yeah.
It's clean. The food is amazing.
Yeah.
It's just it's the future. I want to see what if everything would have worked out, and we know it hasn't.
Yeah.
That's what we would all be living in.
Yeah.
And it's just incredible.
Yeah.
It may be part of a sensibility of Asian cultures, because I also know in unfortunately China has had to go through their political situation, so we don't know where they're at. Taiwan is a little bit more stable and westernized, if you will, and be careful here.
Yeah.
Taiwan is quite awesome. South Korea now too is really coming around. They're just an amazing. Food is amazing. It's clean. It's safe. It's not as much English though in either one of those. But in Japan, they were early adopters of a lot of English, so it's just easy to get around. And there's a lot of Western culture there. Go to Tokyo. Go to Roppongi. There's a little area of Tokyo called Roppongi. That's where all the bars and hanging out are. It's probably the most Western area you'll go to, because there's a lot of drinking and partying there.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing. I'm trying to think of the names of a couple other places to go. Akasaki is the business district. Clean, safe, great restaurants. But you just walk down. It's funny because you have these main roads and these little alleyways. And in the alleyways are all these little ramen houses. And little places to eat. You want to get some Yamachan chicken wings.
Okay.
Yamachan. That's like a Yamaha, but it's Yamachan.
Yeah.
They do the double bone wings, and there's just pepper on them. But they taste so good, and they just pop them in and pull two bones out. And they give you a giant thing to put the bones in. Like, why would we need such a giant thing? Could you bring us another one? Because you'll fill it up.
Keeps going.
And the beer has got just amazing beer with this kind of a unusual, like a coriander aftertaste.
Hmm.
Unbelievable. But
Yeah.
it's worth it to go to Japan. It's the most otherworldly, interplanetary trip you can take, and still not worry about getting bonked in the head or
Mm.
having your wallet stolen. We
Yeah.
had when we were Mr. Big, our drummer Pat dropped his passport on the train, and we were long gone.
Mm.
The fans figured out where our hotel was, and they came with his passport
Oh,
to make sure he got it back.
that's nice.
Unbelievable. We've got dozens of stories like that where people just went
Yeah. Yeah.
way
Yeah.
out of their way just because they're amazing.
Yeah.
So, and again, not to sell anyone else short, we've had incredible experiences in almost every country
Yeah, man.
of
Yeah.
great food, amazing people. But Japan is quite a phenomenon, and
Yeah.
I highly recommend it.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that. Great. So one of my best friends, Jim, has a question for you about your current postings and your food related stuff. So where do you get your inspiration for your love of delicious cooking that you always put on Facebook? Is it a family thing or is it completely self-inspired?
Well, it was a family thing, but not in the way you think. Uh, when I grew up, I had older brothers and sisters, and they were usually gone. And then my folks split up when I was young, and my mom was on her own for a long time, and she'd go out on the weekends. So I was home alone a lot. I always say Macaulay Culkin. I was home. I was home alone
Yeah.
all the time. So I had no choice but to figure out how to cook something to eat. So I started with the Kraft macaroni and cheese. But I go, what if I put some real cheddar on this? Wouldn't it be better? And then started doctoring things that were already there. Instead of the jarred spaghetti sauce, I diced an onion, some mushrooms, put that in before I put it over the spaghetti, and started adding to and modifying what was already there. And my mom was a great cook, so when she was around, I saw her cook some amazing things. She could do anything with anything. We got a couple things in the refrigerator. She'd figure out a way to put them together and make a meal out of it. So I kind of got that as well. And I love good quality food, good tastes, and things of that nature. So, and eating at home, you always have a control over the quality of what you're getting.
Yeah.
And it's generally less of a caloric overload if you make it your own in
Yeah.
your own.
Yeah.
But I just love it. And now my wife's from Italy, and she brings a whole new world of expertise
Mm.
to the table, literally and figuratively,
Mm.
in her skills that she got from her mom,
Mm.
which were quite extensive. So between the two of us, we managed to pull off some good things. But it's I encourage. I know some people don't cook at all. You know, they
Yeah.
may microwave a burrito once in a while. It's a health thing too. You really
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
to cook fresh food. Everything is organic.
Mm.
Very rarely do we have something that's not organic.
Mm.
Well, because I believe in the saying the high price of low cost. You get
Mm.
low cost food, you're going to pay high price later in your health.
Mm.
So get great stuff now, good
Mm.
quality. With a lot of vitamins and minerals, which I believe organic is a way to go,
Yeah.
and I believe it'll reflect in your health, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's about it. But I got left alone a lot, so I had to figure it out or starve.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah, you seem full of life still. You seem to have a lot of energy considering, your stage in life and all that sort of stuff. You strike me as someone that jumps out of bed. I don't know if that's true or not, but
well, somewhat. But sometimes fall, but
yeah,
you could call it a jump. I
yeah,
was
yeah,
in the air and then hit the ground, so maybe you
yeah,
would call it that. But
yeah,
yeah, I saw you hesitate
yeah,
before you said "old man." It said this
yeah,
stage
yeah,
of
yeah.
life.
I'll
Thank you
let
for
you
that.
say that.
Yeah, I
Look,
just turned 69, and
yeah,
I had a big ass checkup on everything as you would do in this age bracket, and I did this heart thing, and it was an MRI, EKG, and then a stress test where you run on the thing and they check in. It was over several days, and the last one was the stress test. It was in the doctor's office, and he came bounding in with all the results and just said, I won't see you for another 10 years. And
nice.
you're in great shape. So I'm very thankful for that. I was never a smoker, not a heavy drinker, no drugs, and mostly high quality food. Not an incredibly stressful life, but there is a lot of stress being in
Of course,
the entertainment business, to say the least.
of course.
But I'm lucky to have an amazing wife who's just
Yeah,
an asset to everything, and our great kitty cat Rebel.
mm,
He's an instant therapy cat. You know,
yeah, yeah.
we laugh our asses off at him. So
Fantastic.
I'm in pretty good shape, thankfully.
That's cool. last question from Jim was, how on earth do you cook sea bass?
Okay, I don't know how to cook fish in general, but I do know that you don't want to either undercook or overcook. There's a certain thickness of fish that you have to take into consideration with your heat and time. And I do remember when I was a fisherman, we would catch trout, and trout has almost no scales. They have scales, but they're so small that they're like glitter. They fall to the water. So you take the trout, slice them in the middle, remove all the insides. You can leave the head on or not. Some people, that's a little too much for them. And you just put the wet, dead trout, for lack of a better, in flour, flip it over, put butter in a pan, drop it in, fry it for a little while, flip it over, use your common sense, take it out. And that skin peels off in one piece, and then the bones separate at the lateral line, where the bones that go up and down to the vertebrae. There's also bones that go sideways, and that would be the lateral line. So your fork can push the bones away and then towards you, and then that bone, just like in the cartoons, comes out like a cone, pulls out in one piece. And it's so easy to eat because they come apart so easily, and it's such a mild fish. So that same way of cooking would work. On a bass, though, they've got scales, and I'm sure the internet will jump down my throat and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there is some bit of flavoring that would be too strong if you cook it with the scales on. So you get a bottle cap from a beer bottle or a dull knife, and you get those scales off. You can also remove the skin, because some fish, it depends on, I don't believe the sea bass have a strong skin. So I would do the same there. I would, you could do a panko breadcrumbs, regular breadcrumbs, finely crunched potato chips, get creative, or flour, or a flavored flour. Put a little oregano or something in the flour to give it a little flavor.
Yeah.
And do the same. Get a little bit of, you could do a little deeper, maybe some olive oil, or peanut oil is great for frying because it tolerates a high temperature. Drop it in one side. Clean it the same way I said the trout. You might want to remove the head too.
Yeah.
Drop it in, reasonable amount of time, and flip it over, and it'll come out, and that skin will probably peel right off, and the meat will come off of the skeleton as well in the same way.
Yeah.
A little garlic butter on that, and it's going to be fantastical.
Sounds good. There you go, Jim. There's a bit of culinary advice from Billy himself. So I hope that helps you, mate, because you've been very good at asking all the questions so far. Got one more fan question, then I'm just going to reel off the last bits, if that's all right with you, Billy. So got my friend Ben Eller, who's quite a well-known guitarist. He wants to know where your lead bass idea came from, and who/what inspired you to be a bass shredder rather than just someone that just sort of sits in the background and thumps away.
Well, I started like that. I played straight up bass.
Yeah.
But I was lucky to hear some people that were amazing early on. Jack Bruce, Wheels of Fire, Crossroads, all over the place. Jamie Jamerson, all over the neck. The most active melodic instrument in almost any Motown track is the bass. Yeah. It's all over the place. Paul McCartney, a little help from my friends, all over. The main melodic instrument is the bass. Tim Bogert, Vanilla Fudge, mind-blowing, all over the place. Jack Cassidy from Jefferson Airplane, all over the place. Mel Shacker from Grand Funk, not so much all over the place, but a lot of distortion, a lot of tone. And, so there was a lot of guys that did things like that. Some generations aren't aware of some of those earlier guys. Yeah. I always give them credit because I took so much of them. Stood on their shoulders, occasionally stood on their foot too, so I apologize about that. But so we were in a three-piece band, and I had to do more. Yeah. So we play. I had to do the stabs and
absolutely,
play the extra stuff. So it just to make up for the lack of other musicians. Only three of us on stage. We would do White Punks on Dope by the Tubes, which was a massive production We pulled it off 3-piece. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
So that kind of led to that, and because I could, most of the guitarists I played with were pretty good guitarists, and they could play while the bass was implying other chords. Playing over changes, as this guitarist I'm sure knows, is one of the true tests of your capabilities. So when you hear jazz guys and they're all over the neck and the chords behind them are changing, and they got to readjust what they're doing to every chord, and it can be very fast and very furious and very complicated. It's one of the most demanding things about performing music is a jazz guy playing over changes. It's tough. When you learn Giant Steps, you'll know that. That's a very famous song that is the benchmark of that. So I would play underneath the guitarist, and a lot of times if I'm just playing and he's soloing, he's got to do a lot more to make it interesting. If I go,
yeah, completely.
Still playing an E, but there's something moving underneath them and making it sound better. We'd always say it's a secret note. We go to a guitar player soloing and go to another root note. Still in the same key, it works. But now it sounds like, because you play like a. Change the note.
Yeah.
Suddenly that.
Yeah.
Simply became more interesting because now it's a harmony thing to it. So some guitar players didn't like it because there's a whole school of guitarists that hold an E while I solo. And for me, that isn't a real band.
Yeah, it's not a fusion and mesh.
Thing. So I would, and I play with guys like that. And if they want to hold the E, I'll hold an E, no problem.
Yeah.
If that's what's required for the song. But moving around a little bit will give it more. And then I started to learn a lot of things, a lot of classical things, and they started to lead themselves to shredding, like all the. A little Toccata and Fuga D minor, Brandenburg concertos. So in my solo that I would do each night, we'd play the song Mr. Big in Tallis, a incestuous bunch that we were. There was a big, long solo that Andy Fraser did. It was in the actual song. So we started doing a thing where the guitar player and drummer would stop, and I would just go. Early 70s. And then they come up, 2, 3, 4. And they come, oh, Mr. Big, you better watch. And come back to the song. So it was also an opportunity for them to go and have a drink or whatever else they did when they went out of the party. I had no idea. I'm not part of that. So they wanted me to continue the solo so they could go back and do it. And it turned into so I had to fill up 5 minutes and keep it interesting.
Absolutely.
It was the key because people are usually on the dance floor when we're playing the song, and I stop and do that thing. Now I try to keep them there. Keep them watching. After a while, they start to go back and go to the bar. I go, it's time to end the solo or get more interesting. So it kind of forced the issue to come up with something. And I remember in one of my first articles in USA on a major magazine, I think Spotlight on New Talent and Guitar Player magazine, I said, my goal is to be able to play a solo for 30 minutes and not bore anybody. People say, 30 minutes. And no, the second part of it is the most important, not bore anybody, non-musicians. And so it was important to come up with things that were not just shred-ific or shredderific, but were also interesting and musical. And I break once in a while and do a little thing where I play like a classic song, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, Misty, Smile, classic song, little chordal version of them. So it kind of grew from that. It was never my goal to be like a shredding guy. And my most successful piece of recorded music is To Be With You, which is no shredding on.
Yeah.
very, very
Yeah.
proud of that.
Hmm.
So that wasn't the thing. But unfortunately, that reputation kind of precedes you because people come to the show with their iPhone. They record the whole show, but they only post my solo. So everybody's kind of like, all he ever does is
Yeah,
solo.
yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah.
It was
Didn't
a
think of it
2 hour
like that.
show.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
So it's like, I have to live with that. It's okay.
Fantastic. There's a bit in Steve Vai live at the Astoria where you play Jaboom, and
Yeah.
there's a bit where you kind of have a conversation going with Steve, and there's a bit where you go doon 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 doon, and
Purposely.
I love that bit so much because it just
Yeah, we're
shows that
both.
you're not just shredding.
And
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah. Steve, what's going on? Love it. Brilliant.
one of my early favorite bass players was Paul Samuel Smith from the Yardbirds, and he did a little bit more accelerated version of things like that, but it was real straight up, walking, stand up bass parts that he did on his Epiphone Rivoli, and so I learned that from him at a very early age. Right on.
This could completely fall flat, but do you believe in the paranormal?
I do.
Okay.
But I have concerns.
Okay.
Everybody has in their possession. Everybody. Come on.
100%.
A camera that's as good as any 35 millimeter was back in the. Why don't we see an absolutely indisputable photo of a UFO?
Yeah.
Or of an alien, or of this, or of that. I believe that there are things that are beyond us, but it irks me that we don't have proof. Now, there's of course the point of view that there is proof, but they're hiding it because we can't. We wouldn't be able to take it. And I'm not buying that. But I do believe that there is more than we're aware of.
Yeah. Why are the best UFO pictures and evidence on 30-year-old mobile phones that had like 0.2 megapixel camera?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you plan to come back to the UK to play some gigs at any point?
Well, it's never up to me. We don't choose where we play or when we play. It's when we get booked. And right now, there's not a lot of international travel happening due to the pandemic holdover. Hopefully, that'll end soon. I think some of the mandates are being ended in the UK soon, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right. That's right. Yep.
So that's a good thing. And that'll make it easier for people to travel. And hopefully, by the end of this summer, I'll be back playing as much as possible because I live to play live and I play live to live. So the pandemic has been tough for me because I gotta play. I've managed, I'm very thankful, I've managed to work hard, practice a lot, and played and wrote and recorded a lot. All my clients that I recorded for, then about over 300 tracks we've done, about 6 albums for people around the world. I'm forever indebted to them to keep me have a reason to keep going and also to keep me afloat financially. It's very nice. But as soon as possible, I love playing in the UK, and I love the food in the UK too. People always say, "Oh, the food in Britain." Come on, I love it. Shepherd's pie and beef Wellington, and I'm a big fan of lamb, and the Indian food is spectacular too. So
it is good, yeah. So when you come over to the UK, do you ever find yourself going to a supermarket and buying something called a meal deal?
I don't know what that is.
So that's comprised of a drink, a sandwich, and a side. So like a pack of crisps or a chocolate bar.
Oh. No, I haven't experienced that, but I do love one of the greatest thing to do. And when you go to Japan, do this: go to a supermarket. You are going to blow your mind.
Yeah.
What you see in there. And I remember in the Netherlands, I went to a supermarket as they were rehearsing one time, and unbelievable stuff that you don't see.
Yeah.
In Italy too, the pasta aisle was about 100 yards long, both sides, and that was only the packaged pasta, fresh pasta.
Yeah.
So,
Fair enough.
Supermarkets in England. I've been lucky to stay there for extended periods over the years. When I went there with Michael Schenker, and then when I rehearsed with UFO back in the 80s, it was quite great to see, and I love staying there. As an American, and as British invasion music was pretty much where it really brought me up as a musician.
Yeah.
And so it'll always be near and dear to me. But also just everything British. And I'll do when I do a clinic or a master class in England, I always do it in my fake British accent. And I did it one time, and I said, so with this British accent, I was wondering what part of England I was imitating, because I wouldn't be aware of. I go, so where does it sound like I'm from with this accent? And they go, America.
Yeah. Can't hide it. No, I love that. So the best thing about meal deals in supermarkets in the UK, just for reference, is the price. So they are £3 English, which is about sort of $4.50 now.
Right.
So you get a full meal for that amount of money. And
the
variety in some of the supermarkets will blow your mind. So I have to get you to report back to me, and I need to know what you have, because the people that listen to this, they do take that question quite seriously, Billy, honestly.
Okay, well, remind me when you send me a message after we're done.
Yeah.
Write it down so I have it. I can take a screenshot and remember that. So when I get there, I can have that be one of my first priorities today. And it's called again? What is it called?
Meal deal.
Meal deal.
Yeah, meal deal. Yeah, fantastic. So we're wrapping up now. Thank you so much for your time. I really do genuinely appreciate it. I can't believe that Facebook Messenger has brought us to this stage. Crazy world.
It is.
Do you have any plans for the future? And do you want to give any shout outs to any companies or anything that you want to promote? The floor is yours.
Well, we have a new Talus record, which is amazing. The singer, sadly, he passed away after we finished recording, but we all got in there and hit it, and we were so pleased with it. Bittersweet to lose our singer, though. It was a very sad thing, but he gave it everything he had. His singing is just amazing on this record. So that'll be out soon. First single is out. You can find it on YouTube, The Inner Mounting Flame. Another single's coming out soon, and then the full record will be out in a few months. And we're just finishing up a new Winery Dogs record, which I'm very excited about. Mike Portnoy, Richie Kotzen, and myself. That'll be coming soon. Hopefully we'll be able to get out touring in the fall. I'm not sure if the record will be out in the fall or the beginning of the year after, because everything takes so much longer now with supply chain problems and the pandemic. So the Talus record, we went through hell and high water to get that out at all, because it was just difficult. But we managed to, and that's coming. And other than that, just, thanks to, Rotosound Strings are based in the UK, and that's all I use on all my basses, and they're the greatest strings ever. And Jason Howe is a dear friend of mine, him and his wife Kathy, and so I'm helping prop up the British economy there by spreading the word according to Rotosound.
So you've got your own signature set with them, haven't you?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
A little lighter G string, a little heavier E, and it just balances out nicely. And it's so many great players have used Rotosound, so that legacy is built into those strings. Pretty awesome.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Billy, it's been a genuine pleasure, like I've told you about 16 times now, and I appreciate you spending 90 minutes of your life chatting to me.
My pleasure.
And thanks everyone for listening, watching, viewing, subscribing, and keep it Bedlam. And I can't guarantee that every guest that I get will be as big as this person, but I will try my absolute best to make this our year. So there we go. Cheers, guys. Cheers, Billy. And speak to you soon.
Wishing you all the best. Thank you so much.
Absolute Bedlam. Archie Soul, as always, hooking me up with the beard wash from Duke Cannon. It's got a hint of oak barrel and Buffalo Trace Kentucky Straight Bourbon whiskey. I know that's backwards, I'm sorry. Got some more Duke Cannon here. Same again, Buffalo Trace. This is a bar of soap, as I've mentioned numerous times now in guest episodes. That's a big boy. Bedlam 2022, once again, will get you 20% off everything on archiesoul.com. And for Christmas, I was very kindly given a £25 bottle of Anthony Sea Kelp Scrub, which is absolutely awesome, and I love it. So that's Archie Soul, www.archiesoul.com. And finally, we have made sure, as always, I love fragrances. If anyone knows me in real life, I love candles, I love scents,
I love walking into a house and smelling like gingerbread or lemon and lime or strawberries. And I don't think that that's necessarily something that's appreciated by men. And I think it should be, because there's nothing wrong with it. It's always seen as very girly. However, I think that we should normalize it for men. So madesure.pigcartel.com. Bedlam 20, not Bedlam 2022, for 20% off your order. We've got wax melts to suit every emotion, every feeling. We've got Jamaican Me Crazy. This one, you can smell it through the wrapper. It is amazing. It's a really left field scent. It's quite a tropical, fruity smell. We've got lemon and lime. If the camera wants to focus, that would be fantastic. Lemon and lime. There we go. Smell that one as well. They're really powerful, but they're really like sort of punchy, and they are meant to be sort of chunked and sort of separated. You're not meant to put the whole thing in your burner. So yeah, there we go. Pink Flamingo as well is the last one I've got to hand. And we've got Avabath here. Avabath. So yeah, just mind-blowing. Everyone that I've ever sent any Made Sure stuff to has absolutely loved it. And I think that 2022 could be their year. Hopefully going to look at doing some events and some fairs when COVID finally jogs on. But yeah, I'm really, really proud of Hannah for making just these amazing snap bars, wax melts. We're looking potentially at getting burner kits, but that's a little bit way down the road. A lot of people say, you know, how do you use them? And it would be good to do like an all assembled thing. I think Hannah's looking at doing some spring scents soon. And then we'll look into doing it as a seasonal thing, you know, spring, summer, autumn, winter, Halloween, Christmas, that sort of stuff in the middle. But yeah, I absolutely love all my sponsors. I use all of the stuff myself, and I just try and be as genuine as possible with it, really. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you are watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. I'm nearly at 30 subscribers, I think, and I'd like to get to 50 by the end of February if possible. I don't think that's an unachievable task. But yeah, thanks as always for listening, watching, and I hope that the guest that I've just had on has been interesting. So I will speak to you all very, very soon. Keep it Bedlam, and please support the show by supporting my sponsors. Cheers, guys.
Absolute Bedlam Podcast. Who? What? Where? Why?